Scott, welcome to the GOA Podcast.
Absolutely thrilled to be here. Absolutely thrilled.
Of course, we've been talking a lot together while I've been playing in Salzburg, and you were also in Salzburg, coaching especially young goalkeepers in local clubs within the Creds, and also the women's team in Salzburg. Of course, I know a bit of your backstory, but it would be great to so that the audience and listeners can know a little bit about your background, playing career, coaching career, and that sort of stuff. So just tell us.
Yeah. Well, 43 years of birth now. I actually started out as a goalkeeper very young. I was 4 or 5 years old. And to try to keep the story very short, it was a case of a group of kids got together one day with a manager of a team. So everything's absolutely okay. And then the manager's saying, okay, who wants to play where? And there's many people saying, I want to play striker. I want to play striker. And then they're going through the list. I want to play in the midfield. I want to play defender. I want to play attacker, striker. And the manager just said, okay, do we have anybody to go in the goal? So I just stand there and I just put my hand up. Okay, I'll go in. So that's how it started. And to be honest with you, I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get stuck in there, and I'm going to do this. So as time goes on, I started to take it more seriously through to 6, 7, 8 years old. So much so that I actually had a goalkeeper coach as well when I was very, very young. I must have had a goalkeeper coach at 9, 10 years old. So we was working, and the club that I played for was a local club here in Manchester that's actually had players go through the system. That was the start. So after that, what I've done then, I've moved around a little bit just to how would you say, just to check out different clubs, different areas, but also bearing in mind I still know a lot of the players through school and things like that. So it was quite easy. And it became really, really competitive at a young age. And it was really enjoyable. So at 10 years old, I received a letter from City asking me, can I go on trial to be a part of their School of Excellence? So I was kind of like, well, I support United. But even still, I went down there. I remember going down dressed in a Man United shirt. And then I just went on the trial. So being at the time, we was being monitored and coached by old former City goalkeeper, and that went very well. And then before you know it, I'm there for quite some years until I got released at 15. In the meantime, as well as playing there, I was still playing for my local clubs, going, like so many trainings and so many games a week. It's like 2 games a weekend is the City. And I actually joined a local club when I was 12, which was the most local club to me. And the manager of the local club, he was actually a milkman. Okay. He used to deliver milk in the beginning. So anyway, I joined, and we in the local areas, in the leagues and things like this, the team was really good, and we was winning lots of things, and I was going through the motions of being a young child still, also development and which ways I wanted to go and try to take it. But we had a good manager, and we had a good team, and the manager was actually one of the people that taken Ryan Giggs to City, and then to United, because he managed Ryan Giggs as well. So there was that kind of connection there, which was really, really, really cool. But also at the same time, I just wanted to focus on my game. So by the time we was like 14, 15 years old, training with the City School of Excellence and also playing with my local team who had some really, really good football players. We was competing for leagues and cups all the time. And it was great. It was great. So at the age of 15, I was then released by City. They basically just told me to keep working. They will monitor and things like that. So I continued then to play for the local club, and I always taken it seriously, as my manager and my teammates known at the time. And 16 years old, I actually got what I classed was a break then to join the reserves team at a club, my hometown club, Salford City. Now, back then, they were only in the very amateur leagues. But as you can see now, they've grown with the Neville brothers, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham, all having a part of it. So I joined them, and I was there for 2 seasons. So it was kind of like the start, really, of senior football, and I gained an awful lot from it, because it didn't just help me on the pitch; it also helped me mentally. Because this mental thing that I had when I was so young, being as a goalkeeper, it's kind of like, in a way, nothing fazed me. I was just going to go out onto the pitch. I was just going to do my work. I was going to play as good as I can. If I made a mistake, I made a mistake, but I was always learning. So when I went to Salford City and starting to play with more senior players, then things started to change, and I felt like for at least a season there, my game got much better, and I started to understand and learn the game much more than I ever did. And everything was going great. So the 2 years at Salford City come to an end the following year, which was absolutely fine. And then I moved to another semi-professional club and their reserve team, bearing in mind I was only 17, 18, and I still had aspirations to make it. I just put kind of sort of almost everything into it. We were training regularly, playing games. So when I moved the club then, I found that I was actually playing with some borderline ex-pros who'd been in United's academy, who'd been in City's academy, who'd been in Liverpool's academy. So it was a really, really big learning test. Playing with guys that had some kind of stature. You're talking like there was a guy, and his name was they called him Scranner. It must have been some kind of nickname, but he at one point was playing with Gerrard at Liverpool. So that was going really well, and I learned so much. And then there was one day I was playing a game, and it was actually a game that was a local derby. So it was quite hostile, but in this kind of sort of game, they want to win. It's 3 points or nothing. So anyway, I finished the game, and my father was driving me home one day, and he said, you did okay there. I said, well, thanks very much for that. He said, so much so that there is a scout from Ipswich Town watching you. Mm-hmm. I said, really? Kind of sort of in disbelief. He said, yeah. He said he was stood quite close, because back in them days, scouts were quite, you kind of sort of knew a scout with the way they were, the way they dressed. They normally kind of sort of stand aside. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. 18 years old, and I've still got somebody looking at me. That's fantastic. So what I did then, I tried to maintain my game. And it was around at a time when former England keeper Richard Wright was at Ipswich Town. It was around then. So I think they were looking at me as a development prospect, which was really nice. So games go on and on and on. And then sadly, I didn't hear anything again. But I obviously continued to play because it is what I love doing. And unfortunately, then came to 23 years old. And then I just kind of sort of like, I'm not going to do this, I love the game. I know exactly what I wish for, but it wasn't going the right way. So I kind of sort of taken a bit of a step back from playing very, very regularly and training very regularly as I did. And then just started playing five-a-side football, futsal, just keeping in okay shape. And yeah, that's how it was. But if I think over the time with some of the players that I played with and also some of the players that I played against, I really, really enjoyed myself. I really did, because I knew that some of the players that I did actually play against, whether it was for my team or especially the opposition, they got the best out of me. It was like a David versus Goliath kind of thing. It was fantastic. So when I look back on my playing career, even though it wasn't as long as I'd liked it to be and I didn't kind of reach exactly where I wanted to be, it was absolutely fantastic. Being chosen to represent your city team for the national tournament, this is something that maybe many people won't understand. It's a little bit like Kretz, but it's a big deal. And I was so proud to be a part of that, as I was kind of sort of when I went to City, because they were fantastic arenas. You're playing with fantastic players. You're playing in the national schools competition, which was regarded as a really big competition, and it's still going today. So the career. Okay, I didn't get there, but even still, I loved every bit of it.
So, but then after your playing career, was there a gap before you started your coaching career? Did you do something in between, or did you just go straight into then starting your coaching career?
No, there was a gap. There was a gap. Obviously, rather than playing football, then I choose to go and watch football. So it was like very, very regularly going down to Old Trafford, watching United, also going watching them away as well. Also having a couple of trips to watch them in Europe was, fantastic. So it was kind of like football was always there. And because my family is a very big football family, it was so easy to kind of sort of keep in it. So I was doing my thing. I was just working, and I had children and things like that, which was really, it was really okay. And it was basically many years later when I first arrived in Norway that, okay, maybe this is something that I should do, or maybe this is something that I actually should have done a long time ago. However, I don't like to look back or dwell on it. So an opportunity came when I was in Norway, and obviously when I first arrived, I was wanting to meet people, wanting to get to know people and have some kind of social arena. So I back on that time, I was actually on the Facebook, and I joined some Facebook groups, and I seen a message one day saying, "Okay, we're looking for a goalkeeper to play a game for us." Now, I didn't know anything about the teams. I didn't know anything about the game in question. But typical me, I wrote my name down. I said, "Yeah, I'm an ex-keeper, and I'd be more than happy to." So we played this game. In Ekeberg. I still don't even know what the team's name was. We played this game down in Ekeberg, and I remember we drawn the game 1-1. And it was fantastic as well because I actually saved the penalty. So
nice.
At this time, it's like when you go on the pitch and when you put the gloves on and when you stand there, I felt like a child again. I felt like a child. I'd lost nothing. Okay, maybe a little bit older, but it was just fantastic. So I the one game that I played, I just really embraced it. I really did. Saved the penalty, and you know this feeling when you just do one good thing in a game. It stays with you. It stays with you, and then you save the penalty, and then you have your teammates who come over to mob you. Yeah, that's great, that's great. And that's how it was, but I still sit here today. I don't even remember the centre-back's name. So, no, it was quite fun. And then from then on, I had a guy who sent me a message from a club near Lillestrøm. And he said, hey, I believe you play in goal. I said, I did play in goal. He said, would you not want to come down and play? I said, listen, my friend, okay, maybe you're not high up the league system, but you're still in the league system. And do you think somebody at 33 who is trying to make a life for himself in a new country has got the time to train and got the time to play games and things like that? And he laughed at me and he said, yeah, he said, I absolutely understand. He said, well, can I ask you another question? I said, yeah, please do. He said, can you coach? So from then on, I went down, I had a meeting with him and I turned around and said, okay, can you tell me what you've got? I said, because of then, I've played for such a long time. I've had a break. I don't have the coaching experience. However, the coaching experience is not really such an issue when you've got experience from the pitch. It can either go one way or it can either go the other way. So I said, yeah, we do this. We do this. And I checked the goalkeepers out. And I was at that first club for a year and a half. And the head coach, he became a very good friend of mine. He was a big United fan as well. So he never shut up. You know what Norwegians are like with English football, Spanish football, German football. They're so big on it. And I knew it was fantastic. But with the goalkeepers there that we had then, we did a really good job, and we really enjoyed each other's company, and we made the best out of it, and the guys developed. So I was there for around 1.5 years. So then was the next thing I said to myself, okay, I want to take the next step. I want to do some education, and I want to see if I can find a club that is a little bit higher. So a friend of mine, he wasn't my agent, but he was acting as my agent because obviously he knew he knew Norway, he was Norwegian, and things like that. He said, "Okay, I'm going to call a couple of clubs for you to see what we can do for you," because I was so dedicated. So he called some clubs, and then one response that we got back was from GOA Podcast, which was quite cool. It was a new place. It was, getting to know new things. So I went down for the meeting, and when I arrived, I met the manager. The manager, Tite Torderson. He's an ex-pro, ex-manager himself.
Yeah, I know he coached. I know he coached Brann here in Leeds.
Yeah. Before. He had 2 stints at Brann. So
okay, 2 stints.
Yeah. He had 2 stints at Brann. He was also a coach of Lean. And yeah, Tita did a lot in his career, playing in Sweden, playing in France, and he had the likes of Arsene Wenger and Gerard Houllier. Tita was under their wings in the club. So I had a meeting with Tita, and he said, "This sounds fantastic." So yeah, went down to GOA Podcast and basically didn't look back. Great relationship with the manager, great relationship with the people around. Continued taking my education, and everything was really, really going the right way. Yeah, so that was so-called the first real opportunity in Norway that I had, and we really had fun and we really worked hard. Not just with the men's team, it was also the women's team. It was the keeper academy. It was the 19s team. You know what it's like in Norway as a coach. You don't normally just train or coach one team. You're normally training more. So that's how it was. But at that time, it was fantastic. Yeah.
And then you coached also a few, like around here in Salzburg as well. And then the Salzburg's women's team. And also you were you head of goalkeeping for the Kretz here in Østfold, or what was that position?
Yeah, I can tell you how that started. Basically, a friend of mine was head coach at Salzburg for the women's team. And my contract at Drøbak was coming to an end. So basically didn't re-sign. But obviously, because I've really started my coaching career now, I really believed in myself because in my eyes, I knew that I understood that what it takes, I could deliver. So it was a meeting, went to Salzburg, and then in the December, which year was it? Was it 2018, 2019. I then became the goalkeeper coach for the women's section in Salzburg, which, to be honest with you, actually turned out to be the best job that I've ever had. Working with the women, I did a little work with the ladies goalkeepers in Drøbak, and they were so dedicated. They really, really were. So going to Salzburg away women, it was a real opportunity to actually focus on the women's game. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not really going to work so much with the guys now. I'm going to work with the women's. And having arrived at Salzburg to the women's team, I had 5 goalkeepers. I had 5 dedicated goalkeepers, and I was so pleased because for the women, they some would say that they don't quite have the same skill set as the guys, but I absolutely no. This is this is incorrect. This is when you're training on the training pitch every day, and you're with so many ladies who just really want to learn, they want to develop, they want to do something. That's absolutely perfect for me. You know, if you want to do that, I'm going to give you my all with my experience. Still building as a coach. So whilst being at Salzburg, I then started to work inside the Kretz. I thought this was an opportunity for me to start to branch out in my coaching. So I'm working with ladies, I'm working with boys, and I just became so busy. I became so busy that it's like you often think that when you have a job or whether you have a role, you would like your dream job. So to be running backwards and forwards to pitch, and you're coaching, and you've always got your gloves and your shoes and your football boots under your arm. This was like a very, very chaotic lifestyle. However, very, very perfect, because it's just what I really enjoyed doing. So as time went on, I then became kind of sort of goalkeeper development manager in the Kretz, which it was great to be that, but I also think that it needed it as well. I think it was like, because you still have that stigma of many, many young goalkeepers saying that, listen, there's not so much focus here. We knew that we had the big focus from the Football Federation, which is absolutely fantastic, but the local focus, there needed to be more local focus, and we needed to see more, and we needed to, not be ignorant about the talents that many, many would hold. So it was always a case of inside the Kretz that we seen goalkeepers that, okay, yeah, they have real potential. But I think the other thing that I really enjoyed is also seeing behind that potential. So you're not just kind of sort of focusing on 1 or 2. You can see there's 5, there's 6, there's 7, that they all have potential. They just need guidance. So giving them guidance was unbelievable, because it's like, And you can almost achieve anything with hard work. And if you work hard, you know, whether it's a cliche thing or not, I don't know. But if you work hard, you can normally strive to aim to succeed. And this is what I was doing myself. This is what the goalkeepers all around me, both boys and girls, were doing. And it was just a fantastic time.
Have you done any like coaching badges?
Yes. I started out going through the motions, taking the lower goalkeeper coaching certification in Norway, and then I moved on to the UEFA B. So I completed my UEFA B in goalkeeping. However, I am at the moment trying to now start again to continue that, so I can get on the football B, and then I can get to my UEFA goalkeeper A. It's a very, very big ambition. It's a very big ambition. It's a lifestyle. It's just a lifestyle to be out on the pitch, to be taking such certifications, and these days you need it. So this is really big.
What is your, I guess you, as a coach, I guess you have an overview of how you would like to develop your goalkeeper, and how your kind of how you want to mold them into the way you view goalkeeping. So if you were teaching them young, what is like the core principles of goalkeeping that you need or feel that is necessary to make it in the game nowadays?
Very, very, very good question. For my own self-beliefs, and obviously going back as well on my own career as a young goalkeeper, and also goalkeepers that I played with and against, obviously it's something to try to be dedicated. So if you choose to do something, you want to try to give what you can into it. Also having a raw mentality. It's not just necessarily in goalkeeping, but a raw mentality in sport, a raw mentality in general. The dedication and the mentality were always two of the biggest things that I've looked for. I'm not necessarily looking for the so-called biggest talent. What I'm looking for is basically people who are willing to spend time out on the pitch, and people who are also willing to learn and develop, because it's a team effort. It's a team effort. So you have the goalkeeper, you have the goalkeeper coach, you work together, you create a bond, you assess the situation of where you are, what you need to develop on, and things like that. And you see, there's so much detail. There's so much detail from younger children's football all the way up until professional football. So it's just going through the motions of the detail, and mentally, not being scared or afraid to have a go. Not being scared or afraid to make a mistake. I would rather see that in a young goalkeeper than see somebody who is completely perfect. Because let's have it right, how many people are? But character, real character. It's kind of sort of been drilled into me throughout my life. So when I'm coaching, I'm looking for somebody with a little bit of character, somebody who can lighten up the garderobe at the dressing room. And just somebody who's willing to work, because the technical details, the tactical details, these things can come. These things can come, but without the dedication, the character, or the willingness to work and spend time out there, without that, you're going to struggle. And then also, when coaching, as well as creating the bond, listening to your keepers, hearing what they've got to say, hearing their thoughts. It's kind of like you're both always learning. So it's very, very important to keep an open mind. And that's what I've been learning throughout my career. I've been learning myself. I'm going to keep an open mind. But like I say, there's certain things, there's certain starting points that you need, and I think the dedication, the willingness to work, and the mentality, they're very, very strong for me, because you can teach anybody to catch a ball.
Yeah,
you know.
That's true. That's true. I know that you're back home in the UK at the moment, but of course we talk on a regular basis, and I know that you have aspirations of getting back into coaching again, and start working in a club. Like, what would be the dream move for you now? I know that you would like maybe to come back to Norway, and I know also that you're open to most countries, but a dream move for you now as a coach, how would that look?
I must say that right at this moment, my dream is to come back to Norway. My dream is to come back to Norway. If you kind of sort of think about it, I made Norway my home. The thing is, obviously, it's taken me many years to get settled and things like that. So it was quite a very, very up and down ride. However, I know personally myself that if I did it again, there's many things that I would change. But I had a great time, and I have a hell of a lot of love for Norway, a hell of a lot of love for the Norwegian people. Also, the way of living, the language. I spent so much time trying to learn a new language, and okay, I'm still not quite there, but I'm still working on it every day, even now. So to work in Norway would be very, very special. And also to, I don't want to look, and I don't want to seek to work at the very, very highest level. If I am going to do that, I want to do that because I've earned that right. So to work with goalkeepers in Norway has always been really, really special, and that is my main goal. However, I'm also very open as well. I'd like to maybe one day work in Sweden. Italy has always been very big on my hit list. I'd love to work in Italy. So I think they're the three at the moment that would be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah. And if you see it as well, the cultures, okay, you have Norway, Sweden, big brother, little brother, whatever you call it. The cultures are quite similar, but also differences as well. And Italy as well. I've always wanted to go to Italy since when I watched the games, I think maybe when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. And we had, was it the Saturday or the Sunday games on the TV here in the UK? And I just had this love for Italy. So I have to throw that into the mix.
But I know also that, like, now, as a coach that you are, we talked about, like, we like to watch video, we like to watch content of goalkeeping. How difficult is it as a coach to maneuver all, because there's a lot of trends in goalkeeping and in goalkeeper coaching. You see a lot of equipment being used. Someone don't use a lot of equipment on the pitch. There's different coaching styles. How difficult do you find it to find your own style of coaching, and to find your own path in this mix of all content out there?
I mean, the role football, goalkeeping, it doesn't matter, but the roles are always evolving. There's always new things coming out, and at the end of the day, we should embrace those things, because there is many, many cool and good things and good ways out there that can make things better. However, I'm a firm believer in do not run before you can walk. So if you are looking at creating a young goalkeeper, then basically you want to start with the basics, and you want to get basics right before you start pushing the boats out to doing these things. You know, I think it's way too much to ask young goalkeepers, especially, to try to do such things. You know, it's let's get the basics right first, but I mean, also let's embrace the way things are done as well. So I find it very, very important. I also find it important as well that things evolve and we open up to new things. I mean, the goalkeeping role, as you know yourself, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, the keepers got the ball and the keeper's punting the ball, lying down the pitch, waiting for someone to get the head on it, play it off, go to the goal. However, we know the keepers these days are used constantly. Play with your feet, make that goalkeeper become that extra man. So the game is no different. However, there are differences in the game and how the tactics are, how they use them, and things like that. So I just think for young goalkeepers to keep their feet on the ground, to learn the basics, and kind of sort of don't run before you can walk, because, you know, you're trying to ask a goalkeeper to do something that is like maybe that little bit complicated before he can actually do the real nitty gritty parts of goalkeeping. So I think it's just how you work with it and how you structure it, and also where that goalkeeper is at that time. You know, what point in their career are they at, in their development stage. And it's just reading these things that really, for a lot of goalkeeping coaches, it will help. It'll go a long way, but just embrace it.
Like, because there's also a big thing about, especially with the younger goalkeepers. I have, of course, I can coach my son in football, but he's also, you know, a goalie in ice hockey, and it does hurt, you know, the goalkeeper heart a little bit to watch him. In most of the trainings, they don't get any coaching. Sparta, they have 1 or 2 days with where they have like goalkeepers come together for a session, but when he's only with the team, there's no one there to you know, help him with the technical stuff, but also maybe when they are young, if they fail in training, if they have a hard time in training, there's no one there to, you know, be there and support them. And then coming back to you, then on the football side, I think there's a lot of frustration among parents as well when they see it. If they have a son or daughter, they really want to become a goalkeeper, but they have no one to coach them. So one question for me is, how can maybe a parent maybe learn some of the basics so that they can maybe help the son or daughter? And do you think it's money like well invested if they would get a coach maybe once a week or something like that to learn the young goalkeepers the basics so that they can take it from there?
Well, I mean, parent coaching, I mean, when I was younger, I was coached by my father. And my father only watched football. He didn't know anything about football, but he watched it. He was actually a swimmer. He swam for the nationals and things like that when he was young. But he basically did the best that he could at that time to try to give me some form of something to use. So what I would say to parents is basically, I mean, you have so much detail. If the parents can help with some of the basics or the start of the basics, that is more than enough. Because at the end of the day, it is the coach's role to then work with it, polish these basics up and things like that. So for those parents that are out there who basically try to coach their own children, I take my hat off to them. And a lot of them don't have the knowledge. But at the end of the day, they're trying to give the best they can for their child. So going back on the conversation sorry, a little bit more towards the second question that you said. I think we've had this discussion before of where, for myself, it becomes incredibly frustrating when a young goalkeeper cannot get any coaching. And I think the thing is with me, Anders, I've never been money driven when it comes to my work. I've always been driven by the fact that, okay, once upon a time, I received some help as from a goalkeeper coach. How would that feel to a child now if I could give exactly the same back and not ask for barely anything? I don't need it, because my enjoyment is actually in the coaching. So if I can make somebody's day by having a very, very good session with somebody who is only just starting out, they have made, they've made strides, straight away. And no, that has always been a very, very frustrating area for me. The fact that there's not really much available without money. And it's very sad. It's very, very sad, because people want to do things, and if I could, I'd spend 24 hours a day out on the pitch, coaching.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point also where you put yourself in such a hard situation, because when you do things, and you do things for free, and you do things for cheap, you're not gaining financially. However, you've got to find a balance. You've got to find a balance, and this is why I've always been like I have, that I will always give and dedicate my time to most people who really want to learn. That's just me.
Yeah, and I think maybe the solution to it can be what I've seen Scott Loach goalkeeping doing over in the UK, where he has big groups of goalkeepers. So there's many goalkeepers attending the same session, and then I don't know what each goalkeeper pay, but I guess if there are bigger groups, larger groups, I think what they have to pay for each individual is probably not so high. So then the goalies get coaching. Scott and his business get paid, and the goalkeepers, the young boys and girls, they get a lot of good coaching and a good basis of taking the goalkeeper career further. So I think that might be a solution, that it doesn't have to be one-on-one coaching, but if you can in a city or in a small town can gather 10 to 12 15 goalkeepers for each session, and then coached from there. I think it's doable for the parents that have to pay, and then you also as a goalkeeper coach have a good life as well, that you get paid enough to do what you love.
I mean any way is better than no way. So if there is a group of people there, take them in and embrace them. Let the money come later. It's not the major thing here. The world revolves around money, and football revolves around money, and we understand that there's so much money in today's game. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. However, you want to try to find ways to help the kids, to give them a chance, to get them to do something, because football is not just sport. Football it is life for millions and millions of children and kids out on the streets who want to play. So you try to. I mean, you will always earn money from it, but from that person that has the correct inside, you will always try to make it so it's very, very fair for somebody to learn.
Yeah. So we talked the other day on the phone, and then we came into the topic of scouting, and many young goalkeepers, they wonder what do I have to do, to get recognized, like by a scout, maybe over especially over in the UK, where the academies now is so huge. Being a part of an academy is probably very important in terms of your development and chances of making it in the game. So if you were to, you love to watch football, you love to watch goalkeepers. So if you were, now you have the scouting hat on, and you were to go and watch a game, and you were going to watch two goalkeepers. So we touched on it a little bit before, but what would you look at, and what would be important when you were scouting a potential first team goalkeeper, or maybe a young talented one?
Team engagement, how they're engaged with the team. Not how loud they shout, but how vocal they are in giving instructions. This we play football to win points, and we need to stop the ball somehow going in the goal, which at the end of the day, we are the last man. We've got 3, 4, 5 in front of us. But the way people communicate is very, very important. And also the way the goalkeeper is reading the game. These two things, they are very, very big things for me, because I want to look at it, and I want to make sure that, okay, the keeper, the back four, the back five, the back three, they've got some control. They've got some real control. And you're looking for somebody to be confident, to be calm under pressure, to be good on the ball, to be good off the ball. These are some of the small things that I won't say small, the big things I'd be looking for. Also, many out there that like goalkeepers who are tall. There's some out there that really, really don't mind if a keeper's a bit shorter, because at the end of the day, I'm not so tall myself. However, how you train can compensate for that. And obviously, you're looking at distribution as well, how people can distribute, how people can play, and things like this. The big saves are really, really fantastic to see. However, there's much more to goalkeeping than just a big save. So, mentally, how goalkeepers deal under pressure. These kind of things, if I was a scout myself, I'd be looking for these kind of things. Not forgetting, obviously, the specifics of goalkeeping.
Where do you see the position in, like, of course, the game develops so fast these days. There's like new stuff all the time. But what do you think goalkeepers, like 5 years down the line, what do they think they have to be able to do? I think they maybe have to be able to do everything. I think they have to be Xabi Alonso with the ball in their feet, and they have to be Courtois, saving the balls. So how do you look at the goalkeeper position down the line?
It's kind of it's kind of like, it's quite difficult to understand or think how things would be, because the game is constantly evolving. And I remember it wasn't so long ago, I read an article, I think it was on the internet or in a magazine, and they were talking, the head coach was going to play his formation of keeper, defender, and the rest up top. So there's so many ways that coaches are adapting to things these days, and when the coach is adapting, then the goalkeeper is having to adapt. But the question is how far is football going to change? If you do the answer to how far it was going to change, then you'd have more of an answer to the question. So I don't know. The rule changes. Are the rules going to change? Are the goals going to get bigger? Are the goals going to get smaller? Is the 60-meter box going to become 24 or 32? But I mean, goalkeeping is goalkeeping. Goalkeeping has always been the same, from today's modern game, also from yesteryear's game. However, the perception of the way they do is kind of sort of different these days. And it's just over the next 5 years, I can't quite imagine it. I can't quite imagine on what changes could come. But it would be very exciting to see on these kind of things. You know?
Yeah, I think especially the goalkeepers breaking through the game, I think they will be younger and younger as they are at the minute as well. Because I think there's so huge financial incentives for the clubs to play them younger because of sell-on value, which is just you see like here in Salzburg where they've sold, like last year they sold not the goalkeeper though, but the striker Henrik Meister. Like the clubs now, especially the big clubs in Europe, they buy the potential, and they have to be very young.
Yeah.
So I think also this will come to goalkeeping. I think goalkeepers, they will be just younger and younger when they are putting goal. I think there will be so much talent around that I think it's probably a bit controversial, but I think, the standard, like the number one, I think will be more. It will be more of a goalkeeper's team than only like there's only one that will be playing all the time. Like they do in maybe like in ice hockey, where there's it's way more easier in hockey to change goalkeepers if the one is not performing. And I think this also will happen more in football.
Do you think it's maybe? You're trying to say that basically it's going to potentially become a little bit more like the American football game?
Yeah, it could be almost like it's like a special team. Just it's goalkeepers. They have their their speciality, and then maybe it's like also what Ben Foster's been saying on his podcast, that one week you meet like you have one guy that is 195 centimeters tall, and he can come and claim crosses and all that sort of stuff. And that weekend they will play a team that puts a lot of crosses in, and he needs to come out. And then the next team, next week they maybe need a goalkeeper that's better on the ball and that sort of stuff. And then they will switch. I don't know if it will happen, but because it's also a mental challenge for the goalkeepers to play in such a team, because they will have this in and out of the team. You know?
Yeah. I can really relate and understand to your way of thinking. Obviously, making use. Kind of sort of tactical changes. If you've got a tall keeper who can play against an opposition who are renowned for balls in the boxes and things like that, then obviously it's something to look at. But if you also have someone as well that is a little bit shorter, but they're very, very good at playing ball, they're a very good part of that defensive structure going up the pitch, then I really see that.
Yeah. So, and I also think that with all the content that is coming out, you have goalkeepers that is like pure content creators, and of course there's pros and cons to that. But I think it's way more. It's more valued to be a goalkeeper now than it was before. I think the position has a better standing. It's much like cooler to be a goalkeeper now than it was before. And I think YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all that sort of stuff with all these creators, I think that's helped a lot, and therefore as well, I think we will see way more talent.
I really
coming through.
I strongly agree. Yeah, I strongly agree. It's like I mean, you can go on Instagram or TikTok or any of the social media channels, and it's very. In many ways, it is actually very satisfying to see that the really bigger focus now is being pushed out there on goalkeepers, because, I mean, without the social media, this is where that you just had the local people and things to coach. Now, the goalkeepers, the younger ones especially, they're getting more ideas because of the social media, and that is absolutely fantastic, because it kind of sort of gives them a little bit of a start. What I would say is when you are going to be coached, then it's just trying to polish things up, trying to make them that little bit better. Because as you know, it's especially in the professional game or trying to move up the ladder. You know, there's so many different levels of demands, so much quality and things like that you need to bring to the game. But when you have so much on offer for people to see, for a young child or an adult, no matter who, to take that away with them and say, okay, I'm going to do this. It's really, really cool. It's really, really cool. And I remember, you know, when I don't really like to normally do a lot of the social media stuff, but back in the COVID times, you know, I put a video out just as simple as like kicking a ball against the wall, catching the ball, you know. So, and then you go into a little bit more detail. Okay, your leg setting, your hand setting, you know, the vision, the focus, because the ball's just going to go, boop, boop. It's just going to fly back at you. So there's so many. There is so many little things you can learn just from one little thing, and there's a lot of great things out there on the internet for goalkeepers to look at, to learn, to understand. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I think also many of the younger goalkeepers, if they are not inside of a good club when they are really young, even like down to 10 or 11, I do receive messages sometimes on my Instagram that if they haven't been selected to an academy when they are 11 or 12, can they like even become a professional? And I think this is important to touch on, because it's a bit sad that there's young boys or young girls that can be disheartened of not being picked up by an academy when they are 11 or 12, and then they feel that their dreams is shattered already. Do you have any advice for them, and what's your opinion on that subject?
I would outrightly say that basically, if you have somebody that is doing something and somebody that has the love for it, and then there's no reason to give up. There's no reason to quit. There are players that have come through the system that were either playing another sport or doing something else, and then they've made the grade by playing professional a little later on. So, you know, how much do you love doing what you do? This is for me. If you love doing what you do, then you're likely to continue that. But there is hope for everybody. There's hope for everybody. It just takes some time. You know, some time, some help, some advice. These things can change things ever so rapidly. And I just don't. I wouldn't like any goalkeeper to be in this situation where maybe they feel sad, they feel low because they've not quite achieved it. Well, the same happened to me when I was at City. I was released, but they told me to keep working. So I keep working. I don't keep working because they told me to. I keep working because I believe that, okay, you know, I've still got this, or I could still have this. It's open for almost everybody if you have the desire to want to continue trying. And the thing is, Anders, as you know yourself, through the system, it doesn't always have to be the top club first. You know, you can work your way through the system, and that's why many players around the world these days are sold. Okay, yeah, you're playing for a team in 5th division, you're playing for a team in 3rd division, you're playing very well, you're very dedicated, you're learning, and then it goes on and on and on. So there's hope for everyone. And there was a story that when I worked with Titus Torderson, he told me when he worked at Brann that there was a player that they picked up from the 5th division. And people were kind of sort of like questioning, okay, is this normal? Before you know it, the guy's playing in Europe and he's banging in goals here, there, and everywhere. I can't remember the player's name, but that's a story that Tita told me. So don't give up. Do not give up. Seek help and seek advice. And just take it day by day, take it as it comes, keep wanting to, okay, if you're not quite the best, you're not the best, but keep wanting to be there and to try to strive to achieve your own ambitions, because it's not over, No.
No, for sure not. I think if you have the hunger and you have the enjoyment of being a goalkeeper, I don't think it's so easy to get discouraged about maybe other people telling you something that you can't do it. You're maybe not taught enough. They can tell you or other stuff. It's so easy these days to get affected about your surroundings. So I think if you love the game, if you love what you do, if you love goalkeeping and you like to work hard, just keep at it and believe in yourself. I think that's a huge part of it.
There's a saying that I was told so many times in my life, and I've heard so many other people say as well, that there is no such word as cannot. It doesn't exist. Cannot. You cannot do this. Hang on a moment. Saying this to somebody, why can they not do this? It's I've heard this phrase many times, and I really, really like it. The fact that there is no such word as can't. If you wish to do this, or you wish to put yourself in a position to be there or try, keep going. Keep going, and be strong, and just say, okay, listen, if I give my all, and I've gone to the absolute end, and then you can question. But with the younger kids these days growing up, you still got a hell of a career ahead of you. So yeah.
So how is the future looking? What's the plans now, Scott, going forward?
Plans at the moment, I am very, very, very ready to get back out on the pitch. I've been ready for quite a long time now. Like I say, with the conversations with the friends that I have, like yourself and others as well, it keeps me healthy, football healthy at the moment, as well as watching many, many games. And I'm just open to get out on the pitch coaching again. I'm hoping to be with a club as soon as possible. I'm ready.
So if there was a club that would like to be interested in you coming to them, where is there any place where they can contact you?
Yeah. There is. They can contact me via phone or SMS, or they can maybe drop me a line on Instagram. I try to stay away from some of the social media platforms, but Instagram I do browse and I use just to see what's happening, just to see things about the game, just to see how about my former goalkeepers are doing and friends are doing and things like that. They can always contact me, and that's absolutely cool. But I'm really ready now to get back out on the pitch. I've not had my gloves on for a long time, Anders.
So the big game is to probably maybe then come to Norway and then just to get into coaching.
But like I say, it's for me, it's never been about. I want to be the best that I can be, and I want to be recognised for being the best that I have been. However, it's not like a race to the top. It's something that, listen, you have a love for doing. If you love something, you do it, and that's just me. Hence the reason why on many, many occasions I coach one-on-one, I coach small groups, and I'm running around like a mouse, to try to fit everybody in and things like that. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's amazing. It's very, very draining, but it's amazing. It's fantastic. Yeah. So no, the plan is to try to get back to Norway. Try to find a club that wishes to obviously have someone like myself. And just spend countless hours on the pitch, countless hours planning, preparing. All these kind of things. This is a part of the job. So it should really be that you don't have so much time for yourself. You should have a lot of time for your work. A lot of people would probably disagree. However, that's the love I have for the game.
Yeah, but then that should be that. But then for a club to appoint you, that it should be a dream to have someone that's burning to work like you are. So it should be a dream for a club, for any club to appoint you.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's probably a dream for them, but also it's a privilege for me. You know, it's you don't take anything in this life for granted. And as you can see, for a short while now, I've actually not been out on the pitch so much. But you don't take it for granted, and any opportunity that comes, you've got to go there and take it. In the time since I've actually not been on the pitch, I've had a lot of work to do with myself as well. And to be honest with you, I feel so good. I feel so much better. There's a lot in this mind now that I've been able to piece together like a jigsaw, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what, this is great. You know, I'm ready for the next task. So just hit me up.
Perfect. I think that's a perfect note to end it on.
Thanks.
So, Scotty, thank you for coming
My
on.
pleasure, Anders. My pleasure.